let's talk about how learning actually works. Because for most of us, our entire mental model of how we absorb information is, well, kind of broken. We're going to reset that model right now, starting with a feeling that I bet is incredibly familiar to you.
Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting in a class or maybe watching a video, and boom, everything just clicks. It makes perfect, crystal clear sense. You feel like you've got it. But then, maybe an hour later or the next day, you try to explain it to someone, and nothing. It's just gone. That whole frustrating experience isn't an accident. There's a really specific reason it happened.
The problem really starts with this myth that we all sort of subconsciously believe in. It's this intuitive idea about how learning is supposed to work that we've probably had our entire lives, but it's just fundamentally wrong. We basically think of our minds as these empty containers, right? Like a bucket, or maybe a hard drive. And we see all this knowledge out in the world, in books, in lectures, and we think learning is just the process of pouring that knowledge into our heads. When something clicks, we feel like, okay, transfer complete. So why are we so attached to this broken idea? Well, for one, that aha moment feels amazing. It feels like real progress, like we've gone from not knowing to knowing. It's also comforting, you know? It makes it seem like all we need to do is just focus harder to pour the information in. And the big one, we can often answer questions perfectly fine while the book is open right in front of us, which tricks us into thinking the model works. But this is exactly where the whole system just completely breaks down. The problem doesn't pop up when you're taking the information in. It shows up way later, and that creates this massive, frustrating gap. This is the classic complaint, isn't it? I put in the hours, I really felt like I understood it, but then it's gone. It's so easy to just think, well, I must have a bad memory, or I'm just not good at learning this stuff. But the issue isn't you. It's the flawed model you're operating from. Okay, so here's the absolute core of the confusion. We constantly mistake recognition for availability. Recognition is when you see the information again and you think, oh yeah, right, I know this. It feels familiar and easy, but it totally depends on cues, like the open book or the video playing. Availability, on the other hand, is being able to pull that information out of your head from scratch with zero support. That is real, usable knowledge, and it is so much harder to build. So I really want this to sink in. If you've felt that gap between understanding and remembering, it is not a personal failure. It's not you. You were just trying to optimize for the wrong thing, all based on a really shaky idea of how your brain actually works. So if it's not about storage, how does the brain really learn? Well, this is a total paradigm shift. It's not about filling a container, it's all about building a structure.
This is the key insight. When you're listening to a really clear, well-made explanation, your brain isn't just downloading data. It's simply following the logical path that the explainer has already built for you. All the connections, the examples, that's all provided externally. Your brain is just, taking a nice stroll on a road that's already been paved.
This idea completely flips how we should feel about learning. That smooth, easy feeling you get during a great lecture, that's actually a sign of external support. Your brain is just observing. But that feeling of difficulty, that strain you feel when you try to remember something on your own, that's the signal of internal construction. That struggle is your brain building real, lasting knowledge. Okay, so if the whole container model is out, what should we replace it with? Let's talk about a much more accurate and, frankly, way more useful model, the scaffolding model. Think about it like you're building something. At first, the scaffolding is present. That's the book, the video, the teacher guiding you along. And with all that support, the structure you're looking at seems complete and solid. Everything feels clear. But then the scaffolding gets removed. You close the book, the video ends. And that brings us to the real test. Can the structure you've built actually stand up on its own?
And that is the single most important distinction we have to make. Explanations are absolutely necessary. You need that scaffolding to get started, but they are not the final product. The real learning, the permanent knowledge, is the structure your mind builds internally that can stand strong long after all the help is gone.
If you only take away one thing from all of this, let it be this idea. Learning is not input. Learning is what survives absence. It's what's left in your head after all the prompts and cues and supports have disappeared. So let's go back to that frustrating feeling of struggle. From now on, I want you to completely reinterpret it. That mental strain is not a sign that you're failing. It is the feeling of your new knowledge structure holding its own weight for the very first time. That feeling is the feeling of learning happening. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you study something, you feel like you get it, and then you forget, what is that a signal of now? It's not failure.
It's just a signal that the scaffolding was taken away before your internal structure was ready. And that isn't a dead end. That's the real starting point for learning.